Welcome to a journey through time, where we step into the dusty, sunlit arenas of ancient Rome, a world where men known as gladiators fought for their lives under the gaze of thousands. This is a story of courage, of struggle, of a life so intense yet so fleeting, told in a way that invites you to relax, to let your mind drift, and perhaps to fall into a gentle sleep. Tonight, we explore the brutal life of a Roman gladiator, a tale that weaves together the thrill of combat with the quiet rhythm of history. Let's begin with a single image, a lone figure standing in the center of a vast arena, his shadow stretching across the sand, the air heavy with the anticipation of a crowd. His heart beats steadily, though he knows this day might be his last. This is the world we're entering, a world of blood and glory, but told slowly, softly, to carry you away. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of this arena, the Colosseum, its towering stone arches rising into a clear Roman sky. The year is somewhere in the 1st century AD, when Rome was at the height of its power, its empire stretching from the misty hills of Britannia to the deserts of Egypt. The gladiator, our focus tonight, is not just a fighter, but a symbol of Rome's strength, its cruelty, and its endless hunger for spectacle. His life was one of paradox, a slave who could become a hero, a man who faced death yet dreamed of freedom. As we unravel his story, let your thoughts soften. Let the images of ancient Rome fill your mind like a dream. Picture the gladiator's armor glinting faintly in the sunlight, the weight of his sword in his hand, the distant murmur of a crowd waiting for the fight to begin. This story is not meant to startle or excite, but to guide you into a state of calm. The gladiator's life, though brutal, is a tale we'll tell with care, with a rhythm that soothes. We'll walk through his world step by step, from the training grounds where he honed his skills to the arena where he staked his life. Each moment will be vivid yet gentle, like a story whispered in the quiet of the night. Imagine the gladiator's breath, steady and slow, as he prepares for what lies ahead. His world is one of sand and steel, but ours is one of rest, of letting go. As we begin, let the weight of the day slip away, and let the ancient world unfold before you. The gladiator's story is one of survival, of men taken from their homes, forced into a life they did not choose, yet finding strength within it. Some were prisoners of war, captured from distant lands, their old lives left behind. Others were slaves, bought and sold like goods, their value measured in their ability to fight. A few, remarkably, were volunteers, men who chose the arena in hopes of fame or fortune. Their stories are woven into the fabric of Rome, a city that thrived on spectacle, where the cheers of the crowd could lift a man to glory or cast him into oblivion. Tonight, we'll follow one such man, a gladiator whose name may be lost to history, but whose life we can imagine, step by step, as we drift toward sleep. Let's picture him now, standing in the shadow of the Colosseum, his eyes scanning the crowd. The arena is vast, its sand raked smooth, ready to drink the blood of the day's battles. The gladiator knows this place well, though each fight feels new, each moment a test of his will. His story is not just one of violence, but of humanity, of fear, hope, and the fragile dream of survival. As we tell this tale, let it carry you, let it become a soft current, pulling you toward rest. The gladiator's world is far away, a distant echo of a time long past, but its power remains, its images vivid enough to fill your mind as you let go of the present. This is boring history for sleep, where the past becomes a lullaby. The gladiator's life was anything but boring, yet we'll tell it in a way that calms, that invites you to close your eyes and let the story unfold. Picture Rome at its peak, its streets alive with the hum of life, its arenas the heart of its entertainment. The gladiator stands at the center of this world, a figure both celebrated and condemned. His story begins now, and as we follow it, Let your thoughts grow heavy, your breath slow, and your mind drift into the quiet of the night. Tonight, we're diving into a story that balances two worlds, the brutal reality of a gladiator's life and the soothing rhythm of a tale told for sleep. This is Boring History for Sleep, a series designed to take the richness of the past and present it in a way that lulls you into rest. The life of a Roman gladiator is our focus, a life filled with danger, courage, and the constant shadow of death. Yet, we'll explore it gently, with a voice that guides you toward peace, letting the vivid images of ancient Rome become a backdrop to your dreams. Let's set the stage for this journey, understanding why the gladiator's story captivates us, even centuries later. The gladiator was a man of contradictions. He was a slave, yet could achieve fame greater than many free Romans. He was a warrior, trained to kill, yet his life depended on the mercy of others. His world was the arena, a place where life and death were decided in moments, where the cheers of the crowd could mean glory or doom. This story is not about fast-paced battles or loud drama, but about the quiet moments, the human moments, that defined a gladiator's life. As we tell it, we'll move slowly, letting each detail unfold like a petal, letting the rhythm of the words carry you closer to sleep. Rome, in its imperial glory, was a city unlike any other. Its streets were paved with stone, its markets filled with goods from across the known world. From spices of the east to slaves from the north, Rome was a melting pot, a place where cultures clashed and mingled. At its heart stood the arenas, the greatest of which was the Colosseum, a monument to Rome's power and its love of spectacle. The gladiator was the star of this stage, a man whose every fight was a performance, a drama watched by thousands. Yet behind the spectacle was a life of hardship, of training, of waiting for the next battle. This story is for those who love history, who want to know what it was like to live in a time so different from our own. It's also for those who seek rest, who want a tale that soothes rather than excites. The gladiator's life was intense, but we'll tell it in a way that feels like a whisper, a story told by firelight. Imagine the gladiator now, not in the arena, but in a quiet moment, perhaps sitting in his cell, his thoughts far from the sand and steel. He might think of home, of a life before Rome, or of the uncertain future. That human element, that quiet reflection, is what we'll carry through this tale. As we move forward, we'll explore every facet of the gladiator's world. We'll walk through the ludus, the training school where he was forged into a fighter. We'll stand in the arena, feeling the weight of the crowd's gaze. We'll see the triumphs and the tragedies, the moments of glory and the moments of despair. Each step will be deliberate, each word chosen to keep you grounded in the story while letting your mind drift. This is a tale of ancient Rome, but it's also a tale for you, for this moment, as you let go of the day and ease into the night. The gladiator's story is universal in its way. It's about facing odds, about finding strength in the face of fear, about surviving in a world that seems stacked against you. These themes resonate, whether you're listening for history or for sleep. As we tell this story, let the images of Rome fill your mind. The golden light on the Colosseum stones, the distant hum of a city that never slept, the gladiator standing tall despite it all. Let these images become a dream, a soft current pulling you toward rest. This is our journey tonight, and it begins now. Step into Rome, the eternal city, at the height of its power in the 1st century A.D. The sun hangs low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over a city that sprawls across 7 hills. The streets are alive with the hum of life. Merchants shout the prices of their wares, from silks brought from distant lands to fresh-baked bread still warm from the oven. Carts rattle over cobblestones, their wheels creaking under the weight of goods. Citizens move through the crowds, their togas and tunics a kaleidoscope of colors, from the bright whites of the wealthy to the earthy browns of the common folk. This is Rome, a city of grandeur, of power, of endless possibility. At the heart of this bustling metropolis stands the Colosseum, a massive stone amphitheater that dominates the skyline. Its arches rise like the ribs of some great beast, its walls weathered yet proud. This is the stage where gladiators fought, where their lives were weighed in blood and glory. The Colosseum could hold tens of thousands, from senators in their cushioned seats to plebeians packed into the upper tiers. The air around it buzzes with anticipation as crowds gather for the games, their voices rising in a chorus of excitement. The gladiator, our focus tonight, would have known this place well, its sand his battlefield, its cheers his fleeting reward. Beyond the Colosseum, Rome is a city of contrasts. Temples to Jupiter and Mars stand tall, their marble columns gleaming in the sunlight. The Forum, the political heart of the city, is filled with orators debating laws and generals boasting of victories. The Tiber River winds through the city, its waters reflecting the golden light of dusk. Along its banks, traders unload goods from far-off provinces, their voices mingling with the calls of fishermen. Rome is a city that never rests, its energy palpable, its power unmatched. Yet for the gladiator, this vibrant world was distant, a place he could only glimpse from the confines of his life. The arenas were not just in Rome, but scattered across the empire, from small provincial amphitheaters to grand structures in cities like Pompeii and Capua. Each was a microcosm of Rome's love for spectacle, a place where the crowd's will was law. The gladiator stepping into one of these arenas would feel the weight of thousands of eyes, the pressure of their expectations. The sand beneath his feet was raked smooth before each fight, a blank canvas soon to be marked by sweat and blood. The walls echoed with the sounds of combat, the clash of steel, the roars of beasts brought from distant lands. Imagine the city on a festival day when the games were held. The streets would be even more crowded, with vendors selling food and trinkets, children running through the crowds, and citizens debating the merits of their favorite fighters. The gladiator, perhaps waiting in a tunnel beneath the arena, would hear these sounds filtering through, a reminder of the world beyond his own. His life was tied to the arena, but Rome itself was the backdrop, a city that shaped his fate, its grandeur, its cruelty, its endless hunger for entertainment. These were the forces that defined the gladiator's world. As we picture this scene, let the details settle in your mind. The warmth of the sun on the Colosseum stones, the murmur of the crowd, the faint scent of olive oil and dust in the air. This is Rome, a city that was both beautiful and brutal, a place where men like our gladiator lived and died for the amusement of others. Let this image become a dream, a vision of a world long past, as you relax into the rhythm of this story. The gladiator's life begins here, in the heart of the empire, and will follow him step by step into the arena and beyond. The gladiators of Rome were men caught in the gears of an empire, their lives shaped by forces beyond their control. They were not born as gladiators, but made, forged through hardship into warriors of the arena. Many were slaves, taken from the edges of Rome's vast empire. Picture a man from Thrace, his homeland, lush with forests, now chained and brought to Rome after a lost battle. Or a farmer from Gaul, his fields burned by Roman legions, his family lost, now facing a new life as a fighter. These men were stripped of their pasts, their names replaced with titles like Murmillo or Retiarius, their worth measured by their skill with a sword. Others were prisoners of war, soldiers defeated in Rome's endless campaigns. A warrior from Germania, once proud in his tribal armor, might find himself in a ludus, his spear traded for a gladiator's trident. These men brought their own fighting styles, their own pride, but in Rome they were remade. The empire did not care for their stories, only their ability to entertain. Yet within each man was a spark of defiance, a memory of who he had been that carried him through the arena's trials. The gladiator was not just a fighter, but a survivor, a man who faced death with every step. Some gladiators, surprisingly, were volunteers. Free Romans, driven by poverty or ambition, signed away their freedom for a chance at glory. Imagine a young man, his family struggling in Rome's crowded tenements, seeing the arena as his only path to wealth. He would enter the ludus willingly, knowing the risks, dreaming of the day his name might be cheered by thousands. These volunteers were rare, but their presence showed the arena's allure. To fight as a gladiator was to gamble with life itself, with the prize of fame or freedom dangling just out of reach. The diversity of gladiators was striking. They came from every corner of the empire, dark-skinned Numidians from Africa, fair-haired Britons from the north, Greeks with their philosophical traditions, and Syrians with their ancient gods. In the ludus, they were forced together, their differences erased under the weight of their shared fate. They spoke different languages, prayed to different deities, but in the arena they were one, gladiators, bound by the sand and the sword. Their stories were rarely recorded, their names often lost, but their lives were the heartbeat of Rome's spectacles. Imagine one such gladiator, a man we'll call Lucius, though his true name might have been something else entirely. He was taken from his home, perhaps a village in Dacia, after Rome's legions swept through. His hands, once used to carve wood, now grip a shield. His eyes, once fixed on the horizon of his homeland, now scan the arena for threats. Lucius is not a hero in the way we might imagine, but a man, flawed and human, caught in a world that demands he fight. His story is one of countless others, each gladiator a thread in the tapestry of Rome's brutal entertainment. As we follow Lucius, let his image fill your mind. A man standing tall, his armor scarred, his face set with determination. He is not just a fighter, but a symbol of resilience, of the human spirit enduring against all odds. This is the gladiator's world, a place where survival was a daily battle, where every moment was a test. Let this story unfold slowly, its details wrapping around you like a blanket, guiding you toward rest. The gladiator's life was one of struggle, but tonight it's a tale to soothe, a journey into the past that carries you into sleep. The story of the gladiator begins long before the Colosseum, in a time when Rome was still a young republic, hungry for power. The origins of gladiatorial combat lie with the Etruscans, Rome's neighbors to the north, who held ritual fights as part of funeral ceremonies. Picture a solemn gathering, perhaps in the 4th century BC, where warriors clashed to honor a fallen leader. The Etruscans believed that blood spilled in combat appeased the spirits of the dead, a sacred act to ensure their passage to the afterlife. These early fights were not spectacles but tributes, small in scale, steeped in meaning. Rome, ever eager to adopt and adapt, took this tradition and transformed it. By the 3rd century BC, gladiatorial fights began appearing in Rome, still tied to funerals, but growing in ambition. Wealthy families staged these combats to display their power, their ability to sacrifice lives for the dead. Imagine a Roman noble, his toga pristine, watching as slaves fought in a makeshift arena, their blood soaking the earth. These early games were not yet the grand spectacles of later centuries, but they planted the seed, a seed that would grow into Rome's greatest obsession. As Rome expanded, so did the games. By the 1st century BC, the Republic was giving way to empire, and gladiatorial combat became a tool of politics. Ambitious men like Julius Caesar staged lavish games to win the favor of the masses, filling arenas with dozens of fighters. The crowds grew larger, their appetite for blood insatiable. What had once been a ritual became a spectacle, a way to distract and entertain a city swollen with power. The gladiator, once a sacred offering, was now a performer, his life a currency spent for Rome's amusement. The arenas themselves evolved. Early fights might have taken place in open fields or temporary wooden structures, but by the 1st century AD, permanent amphitheaters rose across the empire. The Colosseum, completed under Emperor Vespasian, was the pinnacle, a marvel of engineering that could hold 50,000 spectators. Its stone walls, its intricate underground tunnels, its ability to flood for mock naval battles, all spoke to Rome's ingenuity and its love of grandeur. The gladiator stepping into this arena was part of a machine, a vast system of entertainment that fed Rome's soul. The gladiator's role also changed over time. In the early days, most were slaves or prisoners, forced to fight with little training. But as the games grew, so did the need for skilled fighters. The ludus, or gladiator school, became a cornerstone of the system, training men to be both warriors and performers. The gladiator was no longer just a victim, but a professional, his skills honed to thrill the crowd. Yet his life remained precarious, his freedom a distant hope, his survival dependent on the whims of those who watched. Let's imagine a gladiator from these early days, perhaps a Samnite warrior captured in Rome's wars against southern tribes. His curved sword and small shield were the precursors to later gladiator types, his style adapted to entertain. He fought not for honor, but for survival, his life a pawn in Rome's growing spectacle. As we picture him, let the weight of history settle over you, the slow march of time that turned a ritual into an industry. This is the gladiator's origin, a story of blood and transformation, told to guide you into the quiet of sleep. The ludus, or gladiator school, was where a man became a gladiator. Picture a walled compound on the outskirts of Rome, its gates guarded, its courtyards filled with the sounds of training. The air is thick with dust, the sun unrelenting, as men spar with wooden swords or lift heavy stones to build their strength. The ludus was not a place of comfort, but a forge where bodies and minds were shaped for the arena. For a new recruit called a novitius, this was a world of discipline, pain, and survival, a place where weakness was not tolerated. A gladiator's day began at dawn. He rose from a simple straw mat, his muscles sore from the previous day's work. The ludus was a prison in all but name, its walls high, its guards ever watchful. The recruit would join others in the courtyard, where trainers, often former gladiators themselves, barked orders. These trainers were harsh, their voices sharp, their whips ready for those who faltered. The gladiator learned to move with precision, to strike with force, to block with speed. His body was his weapon, and the ludus was where it was honed. Training was relentless. Mornings were spent running, building endurance under the Roman sun. The gladiator might carry heavy weights or spar with a wooden sword, its weight mimicking the real blade he would wield. Afternoon sessions focused on technique, how to thrust a spear, how to swing a net, how to anticipate an opponent's move. The ludus was a place of repetition, of drills that burned movements into muscle memory. The gladiator learned not just to fight, but to perform, to make each strike a spectacle for the crowd. Meals in the ludus were simple, designed to keep the men strong but not indulgent. Barley porridge, called pulse, was a staple, often mixed with beans or scraps of meat. Water was plentiful, but wine was rare. The gladiator ate in a communal hall, surrounded by others who shared his fate. These meals were moments of quiet, a chance to rest, to talk, to form bonds. Yet even here, tension lingered. Today's friend might be tomorrow's opponent in the arena. The ludus was a place of camaraderie and rivalry, of trust and suspicion. The lanista, the owner of the ludus, was a figure of power. He was a businessman, his gladiators, his investments. He walked the courtyards, inspecting his men, deciding who would fight and when. A skilled gladiator was valuable, a potential source of wealth if he won in the arena. A weak one was a liability, quickly discarded. The gladiator lived under this scrutiny, his worth measured in his ability to survive. The Lannista's word was law, his decisions final, his presence a constant reminder of the gladiator's lack of freedom. Imagine our gladiator, Lucius, in this world. His hands, once soft from a life of labor, are now calloused from gripping a sword. His body is lean, his muscles defined, his eyes sharp with focus. He trains alongside others, their faces a mix of fear and determination. The ludus is his home, his prison, his crucible. As we picture him, let the rhythm of his training, the steady beat of feet on the ground, the clash of wooden swords, become a lullaby, a sound that carries you toward rest. The ludus was a place of hardship, but tonight it's a story to soothe. The arena was a stage, and the gladiators were its actors, each playing a distinct role. The Romans loved variety, crafting different types of gladiators with unique weapons, armor, and styles to keep the crowd entertained. The myrmillo was a heavyweight, clad in a bronze helmet with a fish-shaped crest, a large rectangular shield, and a short sword called a gladius. He was the brute of the arena, his strength and stability a contrast to lighter fighters. His armor, though heavy, offered protection, allowing him to withstand blows that would fell others. The retiarius was his opposite, a nimble fighter armed with a net, a trident, and a dagger. He wore little armor, relying on speed and cunning. Picture him moving like a dancer, his net spinning through the air, his trident poised to strike. The retiarius was the fisherman of the arena, hunting his prey with precision. His fights were a spectacle of agility against power, often pitted against the secutor, a gladiator designed to counter him. The secutor wore a smooth, rounded helmet to avoid the net, his sword and shield compact for close combat. The Thraex was another type, armed with a curved sword called a sica and a small square shield. His style was inspired by the warriors of Thrace, his movements fluid yet aggressive. The Thraex was a crowd favorite, his curved blade flashing as he struck. Other types included the hoplomachus, who fought like a Greek hoplite with a spear and round shield, and the provocator, a heavily armored fighter who relied on brute force. Each type was carefully matched to create drama, their differences turning fights into stories. The Romans planned these matchups with care, pairing opposites to heighten the spectacle. A retiarius against a secutor was a classic duel, speed against strength, net against shield. The crowd would cheer for their favorite, betting on the outcome, their voices shaping the fight. The gladiator, whatever his type, was trained to play his role, to make each move a performance. His armor, his weapons, even his stance were designed to thrill, to keep the audience on the edge of their seats. Imagine a fight in the Colosseum. A myrmillo stands firm, his shield raised, facing a retiarius who circles, his net ready. The crowd roars, some shouting for the myrmillo's power, others for the retiarius's cunning. The gladiator knows his role, his training guiding his every step. He is part of a larger story, a drama crafted by Rome's love of spectacle. The types of gladiators were not just fighters, but characters, each with a part to play in the arena's deadly theater. As we picture these fighters, let their images fill your mind. The myrmillo's heavy tread, the retiarius's graceful movements, the Thraex's flashing blade. These were men shaped by Rome, their lives defined by the roles they played. Let this story unfold slowly, its details a gentle wave that carries you toward sleep. The gladiator's world was one of variety and drama, but tonight it's a tale to calm, a journey into the past that soothes your mind. The arena was the heart of the gladiator's world, a place where life and death hung in the balance. Picture the Colosseum, its stone walls rising high, its arches framing a clear blue sky. The sand on the arena floor is raked smooth, a blank canvas soon to be marked by the day's battles. The stands are packed with spectators, from senators in fine togas to plebeians in rough tunics, their voices a constant roar. The gladiator steps into this world, his armor gleaming, his heart steady, despite the weight of what lies ahead. The Colosseum was a marvel, its design a testament to Rome's ingenuity. Its oval shape ensured every seat had a view. Its underground tunnels, the hypogum, housed gladiators, beasts, and machinery. Trapdoors could spring open, releasing lions or bears into the arena. The sand, called arena, gave the arena its name, a surface that soaked up blood and sweat. Smaller amphitheaters across the empire followed this model, each a stage for Rome's spectacles. The gladiator knew these places well, their layouts etched into his memory. As the gladiator entered the arena, the crowd's energy was palpable. They cheered for favorites, booed the weak, their voices shaping the fight. The referee, or summa iudice, stood watch, ensuring the rules were followed. The fight began with a signal, perhaps a trumpet's blast, and the gladiator faced his opponent. It might be a man from his own ludus, a friend turned rival, or a stranger from another school. The arena erased all bonds, leaving only the need to survive. The fight itself was a dance of skill and strategy. The gladiator moved with purpose, his training guiding his steps. A murmillo might advance slowly, his shield raised, while a retiarius circled, seeking an opening. The crowd watched every move, their cheers rising with each strike. The gladiator's world narrowed to this moment, the sand beneath his feet, the weight of his weapon, the eyes of his opponent. Victory meant survival, perhaps fame. Defeat meant death, or the hope of mercy. The arena was not just a place of combat, but a theater. The Romans loved drama, and the gladiator was its star. His armor, his movements, even his wounds were part of the show. The crowd might call for a spectacular kill or spare a valiant loser. The emperor, if present, held the final say, his gesture deciding the gladiator's fate. The arena was Rome's heart, its pulse the roar of the crowd, its lifeblood the gladiator's struggle. Imagine our gladiator Lucius in this moment. He stands in the Colosseum, his shield heavy, his sword steady. The crowd's voices wash over him, a tide of sound. His opponent approaches, and the fight begins. This is his world, a place of danger and glory, where every moment is a test. As we picture this scene, let it become a dream, a vivid image that carries you toward rest. The arena was a stage of life and death, but tonight it's a story to soothe, a tale to guide you into sleep. A gladiator's day was a cycle of discipline, training, and waiting, each moment shaped by the arena's demands. Picture dawn breaking over the ludus, the sky pale with the first light. The gladiator rises from a simple mat, his body aching from yesterday's drills. The air is cool, the compound quiet, except for the stirring of other men. He joins them in the courtyard, where the day's work begins. The ludus is a world apart, its walls a barrier between the gladiator and the city beyond. Morning is for physical training. The gladiator runs laps around the courtyard, his feet pounding the earth, building endurance. He lifts stones or swings a wooden sword, its weight mimicking the real blade. Trainers watch closely, correcting his form, shouting for effort. The gladiator sweats under the rising sun, his muscles burning, his breath steady. This is not just exercise, but preparation, a forging of body and mind for the arena. Each movement is a step toward survival, each drop of sweat a price paid for another day. Lunch is a brief respite. The gladiator sits in a communal hall, a bowl of barley porridge before him. The food is plain, meant to sustain rather than satisfy. He eats slowly, surrounded by others who share his fate. Conversations are hushed, marked by the weight of their lives. Some speak of home, others of the next fight. The gladiator listens, his thoughts drifting to his own past, a life now distant. These moments of rest are fleeting, a pause before the day's demands resume. Afternoon brings more training, now focused on combat. The gladiator spars with a partner, their wooden swords clashing, their shields groaning under blows. The trainer calls out moves, teaching the gladiator to anticipate, to strike, to defend. The courtyard is a blur of motion, dust rising with each step. The gladiator learns to read his opponent, to move with precision, to make every action a performance. The arena demands not just skill, but spectacle, and the ludus is where it's crafted. The lanista might visit, his presence a reminder of the gladiator's status. He inspects the men, his eyes cold, calculating. A good performance in the arena means profit. A poor one means loss. The gladiator feels this scrutiny, his worth tied to his ability to fight. Evening comes, and the ludus grows quiet. The gladiator returns to his cell, his body weary, his mind heavy. He lies on his mat, staring at the ceiling, the day's efforts replaying in his thoughts. Imagine Lucius in this routine. His hands grip the wooden sword, his feet move through the dust, his eyes meet those of his sparring partner. The ludus is his world, a place of routine and rigor, where every day is a step toward the arena. As we follow him, let the rhythm of his day, the steady beat of training, the quiet of meals, become a lullaby, a story that carries you toward rest. The gladiator's life was one of discipline, but tonight it's a tale to calm, a journey into sleep. The arena was a place of raw violence where gladiators faced death with every fight. Picture the Colosseum at midday, the sun high, the sand hot beneath the gladiators' feet. The crowd fills the stands, their voices a deafening roar. The gladiator stands ready, his weapon in hand, facing an opponent who might be friend or foe. The fight begins with a signal, and the arena becomes a world of steel and blood, where skill and luck decide who lives and who dies. Combat was varied, designed to thrill. Most fights were one-on-one, gladiator against gladiator, their styles matched for drama. A retiarius might face a secutor, their net and shield creating a dance of opposites. Other fights were larger, called gregatim, where teams clashed in chaotic battles. The sand would churn, weapons flashing, as men fought for survival. Some gladiators faced beasts, lions, tigers, or bears, released from cages to the crowd's delight. These fights were brutal, the gladiator's skill pitted against raw instinct. The gladiator's training was his lifeline. A missed strike, a moment's hesitation, could mean death. He moved with precision, his shield blocking, his sword striking. The crowd watched every move, cheering for skill, booing weakness. A fight might last minutes or drag on, each moment a test of endurance. The gladiator's body was scarred, his muscles strained, but he fought on, driven by the need to survive. The arena was unforgiving, its sand a canvas for blood and sweat. Not every fight ended in death. A defeated gladiator could surrender, raising a finger to plead for mercy. The crowd's response was crucial. Shouts of "Mita" meant life, "Jugula" meant death. The emperor, if present, might decide, his gesture final. The gladiator on his knees felt the weight of this moment, his fate in the hands of others. Mercy was rare but possible, a fleeting hope in a brutal world. The arena was a place of chance, where skill met fate under the crowd's gaze. The violence was not just physical, but psychological. The gladiator fought knowing each battle could be his last. He faced friends, rivals, strangers, each fight a reminder of his mortality. The crowd's cheers could lift him, their boos crush him. The arena was a crucible, testing not just body, but spirit. The gladiator who survived was not just strong, but resilient, his will forged in the heat of combat. Imagine Lucius in the arena, his shield raised, his sword steady. The crowd roars, the sand shifts beneath him, his opponent advances. This is his moment, a test of everything he's learned. As we picture this scene, let it become a dream, a vivid image that carries you toward rest. The arena was a place of brutality, but tonight it's a story to soothe, a tale to guide you into the quiet of sleep. The crowd was the soul of the arena, their voices shaping the gladiator's fate. Picture the Colosseum filled with thousands, from senators in fine togas to plebeians in rough tunics, all united by their love of the games. They came not just to watch but to judge, their cheers and boos a force as powerful as any sword. The gladiator stepping into the arena felt their presence, a tide of sound that could lift him to glory or cast him into despair. The crowd's role was active, not passive. They shouted for their favorites, bet on outcomes, and debated the merits of each fighter. A skilled gladiator might win their favor, his name chanted like a hero's. A weak one faced their scorn, their boos a prelude to his end. The crowd could demand mercy or death, their gestures, thumbs up or down, deciding the fate of a defeated fighter. This power made them more than spectators. They were gods in their own minds, their will law. The gladiator knew the crowd's importance. He fought not just for survival, but for their approval, his performance a blend of skill and showmanship. A dramatic strike, a bold stance could sway them, earning cheers that might spare his life. The crowd was fickle, their mood shifting with the fight. A moment of brilliance could make them adore him. A moment of weakness could turn them against him. The gladiator lived in this tension, his fate tied to their whims. The emperor, when present, held ultimate authority, but even he often bowed to the crowd. His gesture, thumbs up for life, thumbs down for death, was a formality, guided by the stand's roar. The gladiator on his knees, his finger raised, looked to the crowd, his heart pounding. Their response was his future, a verdict delivered in shouts. The arena was their domain, its sand a stage for their power. The crowd's diversity added to their influence. Senators sought political favor, plebeians sought escape, all found unity in the games. They brought their passions, their rivalries, their dreams to the stands, projecting them onto the gladiator. He was their champion, their victim, their entertainment. The crowd's energy was Rome's energy, a reflection of a city that thrived on spectacle. Imagine Lucius facing this crowd, their voices a storm around him. He fights with skill, but also with flair, knowing their cheers could save him. As we picture this scene, let the crowd's roar become a distant hum, a sound that carries you toward rest. The crowd was the arena's heart, but tonight their story is a lullaby, a tale to soothe your mind into sleep. Fame was a rare prize in the arena, a fleeting light in a world of shadow. Most gladiators were anonymous, their lives spent in obscurity, but a few rose to become legends. Picture a gladiator, his name chanted by thousands, his victories carved into stone. Men like Flamma, who fought over 30 battles and survived, or Spartacus, who defied Rome itself, became stars, their names known across the empire. The gladiator who won the crowd's love was more than a slave. He was a hero. Fame came through skill and survival. A gladiator who won repeatedly, who thrilled the crowd with daring moves, could become a favorite. His victories earned coins, gifts, even the admiration of wealthy patrons. Women sent him tokens. Men bet on his success. The arena was a stage, and the famous gladiator was its star, his every fight a performance. His name might appear on graffiti, his image on lamps or statues, a testament to his fleeting glory. Yet fame was a double-edged sword. A popular gladiator was valuable, kept alive to fight again, but he remained a slave, owned by his lanista. His victories bought him time, but not freedom. The crowd's love was fickle, their cheers turning to boos if he faltered. The gladiator lived for these moments of glory, knowing they could end with a single misstep. Fame was a dream, bright but fragile, a light that could fade in an instant. Some gladiators used their fame to defy their fate. Spartacus, a Thracian gladiator, led a rebellion that shook Rome, his name a symbol of resistance. Others, like Flamma, earned the rudes, the wooden sword of freedom, through their victories. These men were exceptions, their stories rare in a world where most gladiators died young. Fame was a path to survival, but it was narrow, walked by few. The gladiators' fame resonated beyond the arena. Poets wrote of their deeds, artists depicted their battles. Their stories inspired Rome's citizens, who saw in them the virtues of courage and endurance. Even today, their legacy lives in films and books, the gladiator a symbol of defiance against odds. The famous gladiator was a man who transcended his chains, if only for a moment, his name echoing through time. Imagine Lucius achieving this fame, his name shouted by the crowd, his victories celebrated. He stands in the arena, his armor gleaming, his heart lifted by their cheers. As we picture this moment, let it become a dream, a vision of glory that carries you toward rest. Fame was the gladiator's rare reward, but tonight it's a story to soothe, a tale to guide you into sleep. The gladiator's life was a tightrope between death and freedom, each fight a step toward one or the other. Most gladiators faced death, their lives cut short by a blade or a beast. The arena was unforgiving, its sand a graveyard for countless men. A single mistake, a slipped shield, a slow reaction could end everything. The gladiator fought knowing this, his every move a gamble, his survival never certain. Death was not always immediate. Some fights ended with a defeated gladiator spared, his life hanging on the crowd's mercy. But many were not so lucky. A fatal wound might come quickly, a sword to the chest, or slowly, as blood seeped into the sand. The gladiator faced this reality with every fight, his training a shield against fear, his resolve a weapon against despair. The arena was a place where death was ever present, a shadow that followed every step. Freedom, though rare, was the other possibility. The rudis, a wooden sword, was the symbol of a gladiator's release, granted for exceptional valor or favor. Picture a gladiator, scarred and weary, receiving this prize, his chains removed, his life his own again. Freedom was a dream, a hope that sustained him through countless battles. Yet it was elusive, granted to only a few. The gladiator who earned it was a rarity, his story a beacon in a world of darkness. Even freedom came with a cost. A freed gladiator might become a trainer, staying tied to the arena's world. Others struggled to find a place in a society that saw them as outcasts. The rudis was a victory, but it did not erase the scars, physical or mental, that the gladiator carried. His life after freedom was uncertain, a new battle in a world that had moved on without him. The arena's shadow lingered, its memories a weight he could not shed. The gladiator's reality was one of constant tension. Each fight was a test, each day a reminder of his mortality. He lived for the chance of freedom, but knew death was more likely. His strength was not just in his body, but in his will, his ability to face this truth and fight on. The gladiator was a man of resilience, his life a testament to the human spirit's endurance. Imagine Lucius facing this reality, his eyes fixed on the arena, his heart holding onto the hope of freedom. Each fight is a step toward that dream, or toward the end. As we picture him, let this image become a dream, a story of struggle that carries you toward rest. The gladiator's life was one of harsh reality, but tonight it's a tale to soothe, a journey into the quiet of sleep. Women gladiators, though rare, were a striking part of Rome's arenas. Known as gladiatresses, they defied the norms of a society that confined women to domestic roles. Picture a woman stepping into the Colosseum, her armor gleaming, her weapon ready. She might be a slave like many male gladiators, taken from a conquered land. Or she might be a volunteer, driven by desperation or ambition, seeking the same fame or freedom as her male counterparts. Her presence was a spectacle, her courage undeniable. The gladiatrix fought with the same ferocity as men, her training no less grueling. She might wield a sword and shield, like a thraex, or a net and trident, like a retiarius. Her style was adapted to her strength, her movements swift and precise. The crowd watched with fascination, some cheering her bravery, others mocking her defiance. The gladiatrix was a paradox, a woman in a man's world, her every fight a challenge to Rome's expectations. Historical records of women gladiators are scarce, but they exist. Inscriptions and reliefs mention fighters like Achilles, who won battles and hearts. These women were rare, their fights often staged for novelty, but their skill was real. They trained in the ludus, sparred with men, and faced the same dangers. The arena did not discriminate, man or woman. The sand demanded blood, and the gladiatrix delivered. The gladiatrix's life was one of isolation. In a society that valued women as wives or mothers, she was an outsider, her role misunderstood. Yet, in the arena, she was equal, her skill the only measure of her worth. She fought for survival, for fame, for the chance to prove herself. Her victories were triumphs, not just for her, but for all who defied convention. The gladiatrix was a symbol of resilience, her story a spark in Rome's brutal world. The crowd's reaction to women gladiators was mixed. Some saw them as heroes, others as curiosities. Their fights were less frequent, their presence a spectacle that drew attention. The gladiatrix knew this, her performance shaped by the need to impress. She fought not just for her life, but for her place in a world that sought to define her. Her courage was her legacy, her name a whisper in history's pages. Imagine a gladiatrix named Livia, standing in the arena, her sword raised, her eyes fierce. She faces a male opponent, her movements a blur of skill and determination. As we picture her, let her story become a dream, a vision of defiance that carries you toward rest. The gladiatrix was a rare figure, but tonight her tale is a lullaby, a story to soothe your mind into sleep. The games under certain emperors were spectacles of unmatched grandeur, turning the arena into a theater of excess. Picture the Colosseum under Nero or Commodus, its stands filled with thousands, its sand a stage for Rome's wildest dreams. These emperors used the games to dazzle, to distract, to cement their power. They staged battles with hundreds of gladiators, exotic beasts from Africa and Asia, even mock naval battles in flooded arenas. The gladiator was a pawn in this grand display, his life spent for the empire's glory. Nero, known for his extravagance, loved the games. He built lavish sets, imported rare animals, and rewarded victorious gladiators with gold. His games were festivals, lasting days, each fight more elaborate than the last. Commodus went further, stepping into the arena himself, fighting as a gladiator to win the crowd's love. His presence was a spectacle, a god-emperor playing warrior, his victories staged but thrilling. The gladiator fought in this shadow, his role part of a larger drama. The emperor's games were not just fights, but stories. Picture a day when the Colosseum was flooded, ships battling on artificial waves, gladiators fighting on floating platforms, or a hunt where dozens of beasts, lions, elephants, ostriches, were released, gladiators tasked with slaying them. The crowd roared, their senses overwhelmed, their loyalty to the emperor strengthened. The gladiator was a performer, his skills secondary to the spectacle, his life a note in Rome's symphony. These games were costly, both in coin and lives. The emperor spared no expense, importing animals, hiring gladiators, building elaborate sets. The gladiator faced greater dangers in these events, his opponents not just men, but beasts or staged disasters. A single misstep could mean death, his body part of the emperor's show. Yet the crowd loved it, their cheers a testament to Rome's power, their excitement a reflection of the emperor's will. The gladiator in these games was both hero and victim. He fought for survival, but also for the emperor's glory, his victories a gift to the crowd. His life was expendable, his death a spectacle. Yet some thrived, their names tied to the emperor's games, their fame a fleeting reward. The emperor's games were Rome at its peak, a display of wealth, power, and cruelty that defined the empire. Imagine Lucius in one of these games, facing a lion under Commodus's gaze, the crowd's cheers a storm around him. His heart races, but his training holds. As we picture this moment, let it become a dream, a vision of grandeur that carries you toward rest. The emperor's games were a spectacle, but tonight they're a story to soothe, a tale to guide you into sleep. The gladiator's life was not just physical, but mental, a constant battle against fear and despair. Picture him in his cell, the night before a fight, the darkness heavy around him. The arena loomed in his thoughts, its sand a stage for his fears. Every fight was a reminder of his mortality, every opponent a mirror of his own fragility. The gladiator lived with this weight, his mind as scarred as his body, his spirit tested by the arena's demands. The ludus was a place of isolation. The gladiator was surrounded by others, yet alone, his thoughts his only companion. He might form bonds with fellow fighters, sharing meals or training, but these were fragile. Tomorrow he might face a friend in the arena, forced to kill or be killed. This tension gnawed at him, trust eroded by the reality of his life. The gladiator learned to guard his heart, to keep his fears hidden, even from himself. The crowd's presence added to the toll. Their cheers could lift him, but their boos could crush him. The gladiator fought for their approval, knowing their verdict could mean life or death. This pressure was constant, a weight he carried into every battle. He might dream of glory, of the rudes, but fear was his constant companion, a shadow that grew with each fight. The gladiator's strength was not just in his sword, but in his ability to endure this mental strain. Some gladiators found solace in faith, praying to gods like Mars or their own deities from distant lands. Others found it in defiance, a refusal to let fear win. But all carried scars, invisible wounds that marked their souls. The gladiator who survived was not just skilled, but resilient, his mind a fortress against the arena's horrors. His life was a testament to the human spirit, its ability to endure even in the darkest moments. The psychological toll was a silent battle fought in the quiet of the night. The gladiator lay awake, his thoughts racing, the arena waiting. He might think of home, of a life before Rome, or of the uncertain future. These moments of reflection were his, a space where he was more than a gladiator, a man with dreams and fears. The arena tested his body, but the night tested his soul, a struggle as real as any fight. Imagine Lucius in this moment, alone in his cell, his thoughts a storm within him. He clings to hope, to the dream of freedom, even as fear whispers. As we picture him, let this image become a dream, a story of resilience that carries you toward rest. The gladiator's mind was a battlefield, but tonight it's a tale to soothe, a journey into the quiet of sleep. The gladiator's era could not last forever, its end shaped by a changing Rome. Picture the Colosseum in the 4th century A.D. It stands still full, but its spirit shifting. The empire was aging, its borders strained, its values evolving. Christianity, with its teachings of mercy and peace, spread through the city, challenging the arena's bloodshed. The gladiator, once a symbol of Rome's power, became a relic, his fights less central to a city facing new challenges. The decline began slowly. Emperors like Constantine, who embraced Christianity, saw the games as relics of a pagan past. They curbed the violence, favoring other spectacles like chariot races. The Colosseum, though still used, hosted fewer gladiatorial fights, its sand less stained with blood. By the 5th century, under Emperor Honorius, gladiatorial combat was banned, the arenas left to silence. The gladiator's world faded, its echoes preserved in stone and story. Economic pressures played a role. The games were costly, requiring gladiators, beasts, and elaborate sets. As Rome's wealth dwindled, so did its ability to sustain such spectacles. The ludus closed, their courtyards empty, their trainers gone. The gladiator, once a star, became a memory, his role taken by other entertainers. The empire's focus shifted, its energy turned to survival rather than spectacle. The gladiator's decline was also cultural. Christianity's rise brought new values, ones that clashed with the arena's cruelty. Monks and bishops condemned the games, urging Romans to seek salvation over bloodshed. The crowd, once hungry for death, found new heroes in saints and martyrs. The gladiator, though still admired, was out of place in this new Rome, his battles a reminder of a fading era. Yet the gladiator's legacy endured. His stories were told in taverns, his image carved into ruins. The Colosseum stood as a monument, its stones whispering of battles past. The gladiator's spirit lived in Rome's memory, a symbol of courage against odds. As the empire fell, his tale survived, carried by those who remembered the arena's glory. Imagine the Colosseum in its final days. It stands quiet, its sand untouched. The gladiator's world is gone, but its echoes remain. As we picture this scene, let it become a dream, a vision of a fading era that carries you toward rest. The gladiator's decline was the end of an age, but tonight it's a story to soothe, a tale to guide you into sleep. The gladiator's legacy is a thread that runs through time, connecting ancient Rome to our modern world. Picture the Colosseum today, its ruins a testament to a lost era, yet still drawing millions who walk its stones, imagining the battles fought there. The gladiator's story has not faded but grown, its power undimmed by centuries. His courage, his defiance, his struggle against odds, these are themes that resonate, making him a figure of fascination even now. In Rome, the gladiator was more than a fighter. He was a symbol of resilience, a man who faced death and stood tall. Poets wrote of his deeds, their verses preserving his name. Artists carved his image into stone, capturing his strength. His story was told in taverns, in markets, a tale that inspired both awe and pity. The gladiator was Rome's hero and victim, a figure who embodied the empire's contradictions. Today, the gladiator lives in our stories. Films like Gladiator bring his world to life, their images of the Colosseum vivid and stirring. Books, games, and shows draw on his legacy, portraying him as a warrior, a rebel, a survivor. The gladiator's spirit is seen in modern arenas, where athletes compete for glory, their struggles echoing his own. He is a universal figure, his story one of human endurance against adversity. The gladiator's legacy is also in his impact on Rome itself. The games shaped the city's culture, its politics, its identity. The Colosseum, built for gladiators, remains a symbol of Rome's power, its stones a canvas for history. The gladiators' fights were more than entertainment. They were a reflection of Rome's soul, its love of spectacle, its acceptance of cruelty. His story is part of the city's story, a chapter that endures. The gladiator's influence extends beyond entertainment. His defiance, his will to survive, inspires those who face their own battles. He is a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is strength to be found. His legacy is not just in the arena, but in the human spirit, its ability to endure, to fight, to hope. The gladiator is a figure of the past, but his story is timeless, a spark that lights our imagination. Imagine Lucius's legacy, his name perhaps lost, but his spirit alive in the stories we tell. As we picture him, let this image become a dream, a vision of endurance that carries you toward rest. The gladiator's legacy is a bridge across time, but tonight it's a story to soothe, a tale to guide you into the quiet of sleep. As we near the end of our journey, let the world of the gladiator fade into the distance. Picture the Colosseum at dusk, its stones bathed in the soft light of a setting sun. The arena is quiet now, its sand still, its echoes silent. The gladiator, whether he won glory or fell in battle, rests at last. His sword is laid down, his shield at his side, his story complete. Let this image settle in your mind, a vision of peace after struggle, a world now at rest. The gladiator's life was one of intensity, of battles fought under the gaze of thousands. He faced death, defied odds, and carried the weight of Rome's expectations. Yet now that world is far away, a distant memory in the quiet of the night. Let the images of Rome, the Colosseum's arches, the Tiber's flow, the crowd's roar, become a dream, a soft current pulling you toward sleep. The gladiator's story is vivid, but its rhythm is gentle, a tale told to calm. Feel the weight of the day slip away like sand falling through your fingers. The gladiator's battles are done, his struggles part of history. Let his courage, his resilience, become a quiet strength within you, a reminder that rest is earned, that peace is possible. The arena is gone, its cheers faded, its dangers left behind. All that remains is this story, its words wrapping around you like a blanket, guiding you into the night. Picture Rome one last time, its lights dimming, its streets growing quiet. The gladiator's world is a memory, a tale told to soothe. Let your breath slow, your thoughts soften, as the images of ancient Rome dissolve into dreams. The Colosseum stands silent, its stones warmed by the last rays of sunlight. The gladiator rests, and so can you, carried by this story into a place of calm. This is the end of our journey, but not the end of the gladiator's story. His legacy lives in the tales we tell, the dreams we dream. Let those dreams take you now. Let them carry you to a place where the arena is far away, where only peace remains. The gladiator's life was one of struggle, but tonight it's a lullaby, a story to guide you into sleep. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the world of the Roman gladiator, a tale of courage, struggle, and survival, told to soothe your mind. If you've enjoyed this story, if the images of ancient Rome have brought you calm or curiosity, consider liking this video and subscribing for more tales like this one. Share this journey with someone who loves history, who seeks the quiet of a story told for sleep, or who simply needs a moment of rest. The gladiator's world is one we've explored together, its battles vivid, its lessons timeless. As you drift toward sleep, let the echoes of Rome linger, a reminder of a time when men faced impossible odds and found strength within. This channel is a place for stories like these, tales that blend the past with the peace of the present, guiding you into restful nights. If you found comfort in this story, if the gladiator's life has become a dream, let others know. A like, a comment, a subscription helps bring these tales to more listeners, more dreamers. The gladiator's story is one of many, and there are countless others waiting to be told, each a journey into the past, each a path to rest. For now, let the story end. The Colosseum is silent, its sand untouched, its heroes at peace. Let that peace be yours, a quiet place where the day's worries fade, where sleep comes softly. Thank you for being here, for walking through Rome with me. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with the echoes of ancient heroes, carrying you into a restful sleep.